Hello students, today I am going to teach the topic migrating application to the cloud. So let's proceed with application migration process to the cloud. Cloud migration consists of moving one or more enterprise applications and their IT environments from traditional hosting type to the cloud environment, either public, private, or hybrid cloud. Cloud migration presents an opportunity to significantly reduce costs incurred on application. This activity made up of different phases like evaluation, migration strategies, prototyping, provisioning, and testing. As this term stands for moving one or more enterprise applications and their IT environment. Let's have one example. Any organization, any enterprises, they are using any web application where they develop their organization process system and they deploy it on a web with the help of server, and for that they have used different technology as a front end and back end. As a front end they have used the different 4GL language like Visual Studio, ASP.NET, PHP, or Java, and as a backend in terms of database they have used SQL or any other type. Now they are going to change their vendor. They did the number of modification in their applications, or they want changes in their web application, and as per the current trend they want to be launch their enterprise application on a cloud. Then is it possible? Yes. Is it really possible? Because already they are running one web-based system and easily they can develop their cloud-based application. So one question comes in your mind, what is that? The question is, if they are launching a new application on a cloud, so they need to change the GUI, they need to change the database. Means what? They need to change their front end as well as back end. Now this will happen simultaneously, but what about the previous data which has been stored in the system that is running on a web application or as an web application for that organization? In this case, whatever the existing system, whether it's a standalone, whether it can be a web application in the cloud environment or in the cloud computing, it is easy to move that system from existing platform to a cloud-based platform. and that term it's called as cloud migration. So developer will do the cloud-based development at a one side by side. They are going to migrate the old system database into a cloud-based required database, as well as they will initiate the GUI in terms of the cloud-based application. As this cloud migration process consists of different phases. Let's have a look on every phases. The first phase is evaluation. Evaluation is carried out for all the components like current infrastructure and application architecture, environment in terms of compute, storage, monitoring, management, and SLAs, then operational process, financial consideration, risk, security, compliance, and licensing needs are identified to build a business case for moving to the cloud. So, while performing the evaluation, all these factors are considered from risk, security, SLA, etc. during the cloud migration. So this is the first phase of the cloud migration. Then after evaluation, the next phase is a migration strategy. Based on the evaluation, a migration strategy is decided. A hot plug strategy is used where the applications and their data and interface dependencies are isolated, and these applications can be operationalized all at once. Here, hot plug strategy means what? In this, existing system of an organization will run simultaneously, as well as migration on a cloud application is also happening simultaneously. A fusion strategy is used where applications can be partially migrated, but for a portion of it, there are dependencies based on existing license, specialized server requirements like mainframe computers, or extensive interconnections with the other applications. So, what are the resources required that is also finalized in terms of migration strategies when we performing a cloud migrations. This is the second phase of cloud migration. Then the third phase is a prototyping, which is a very important phase in a cloud migration. Migration activity is preceded by a prototyping activity to validate and ensure that a small portion of the applications are tested on the cloud environment with test data setup. Now, in terms of prototyping, we'll tell you a number of examples. Suppose any bike manufacturing company, they want to launch a new bike in the market. In such a situation, they cannot directly go for launching their product in the market. First of all, for developing that product, they are defining certain development plan, strategies and all. After that, with the help of number of resources required to build the product, they will create some prototypes of that specific bike or product. Once they made a prototype, that prototype is undergone to the testing, and the testing has been performed by various aspects in the environment. Once that prototype has been passed the testing, then that company has start for developing number of product that is a bike, and afterward they will launch their bike as a product in the market. So here prototype is a very much important. Similarly, in a field of software development or cloud application development, firstly they will create one prototype, and the created prototype has been tested as a developer point of view as well as user point of view. After testing, if any bugs are there, any errors are there, that has been resolved as a part of the software testing or application testing. Once all the testing has been done, then that software prototyping model is converted into a actual application which will comes in terms of a final cloud application. And one thing which is very much important here, what is that? See, we cannot say requirement are 100% completed, because the application which we have developed, that is applicable up to current constraint, but it may happen in the future user or client may come up with new requirements or new needs, and as they come up with new requirements or new needs, you need to fulfill that needs into a new development or new application with a newest version. So prototyping is an important part, or it's an important phase in a cloud migration. Then the next phase will come, that is an provisioning. So pre-migration optimization identified are implemented. Cloud servers are provisioned for all the identified environments. Necessary platform softwares and applications are deployed. Configurations are tuned to match the new environment sizing, and databases and files are replicated, that is, number of copies has been created. All internal and external integration points are properly configured. Web services, batch jobs, and operation and management software are set up in the new environments, and that is happening in the phase called as a provisioning. After this, the important phase will come, that is called as a testing. In this, post-migration tests are conducted to ensure that migration has been successful. performance and load testing, failure and recovery testing, and scale out testing are conducted against the expected traffic load and resource utilization level, and this is happening during the cloud migration testing phase. So these are the important phases of cloud migration: evaluation, migration strategy, prototyping, provisioning, and testing. Now, with this, there are certain approaches for cloud migration. Let's have look on these approaches. The following are the four broad approaches for cloud migrations that have been adopted effectively by vendors. First is a migrating existing applications. Then start from scratch. Then separate company. And last, buy an existing cloud vendor. Let's see every approach. First approach is migrate existing applications. So in this approach, rebuild or re-architect some or all the applications, taking advantages of some of the virtualization technologies around to accelerate the work. But it requires top engineers to develop new functionality. This can be achieved over the course of several releases with the timing determined by customer demand. So migrate existing application. As I have given example previously, if any organization has running their existing system or application, same thing need to migrate into a cloud-based application, where migrating the existing application is an important approach. The second approach is about start from scratch. Here, rather than the cannibalized sales confuse customers with choice and type engineers trying to rebuild existing application, it may be easier to start again. Many of the R&D decision will be different now, and with some of more sophisticated development environments, one can achieve more even with a small focus working team. That's why it start from scratch. They need to, when it's time to migrate the system on a cloud, need to know the existing system properly with the development team, and then start for the migration. This is the second approach. With this, we have two more approach, that is a separate company, and last is buy an existing cloud vendor. Let's talk about separate company approach. One, many want to create a whole new company with separate brand, management, R&D, and sales. The investment and internet protocol, that is IP, may come from the existing company, but many of the conflicts disappear once a newborn in the cloud company is established. The separate company may even be subsidiary of the existing company. What is important is that a new company can act, can operate, and behave like a cloud-based startup. Now, this point is very much important. What this approach says that whenever any existing system get migrated into a new system, in that case, the new system which will comes as a new company, which will follow or which will modify the company existing processes, and if additional processes gets added into the existing system, then that processes should be beneficial for that organization. Let's have one example. Suppose any production based company running their web application. In that web application, they have covered their 2 or 3 departments process. But when they decided to migrate on a cloud, then definitely they will come up with a new system and with a new features. Whenever they will migrate on a cloud, that time they are going to cover number of all the processes which are present in their company, but that is not covered in the existing system, and which will comes in terms of modules in the cloud-based application. That's why here one thing is mentioned, that it will comes with separate brand, management, R&D, and sales. And whenever a new cloud-based application will pop up in front of client, user, or that organizational users, then number of features that is a requirement should be fulfilled by that cloud-based company or that cloud-based organization. Then the last approach is buy an existing cloud vendor. Now, for this, we'll tell you one example. Nowadays, number of cloud service providers, cloud vendors are exist in the market, and these vendors are providing different cloud-based applications like ERP, SCM, that is supply chain management, enterprise resource planning applications, and organization use their application. But after some interval, organization face certain issues while using that cloud-based application. In that case, they will suggest changes to that application or cloud vendor. And if they are not ready to update on it, so simply thing is that that organization need to change their cloud vendor. So when they are going to change their cloud vendor, that time a new cloud vendor need to first think about the existing cloud vendor. In that case, number of cloud vendors, they will buy the existing cloud vendors. So for a large established vendor, buying a cloud-based competitor achieves 2 things. Firstly, it removes a competitor, and secondly, it enables the vendor to hit the ground running in the cloud space. The risk of course is that innovation, drive, and operational approach of the cloud-based company are destroyed as it is merged into a larger acquirer, because that existing cloud vendor has to follow the rules and policies of new cloud vendor. So these are the approaches like migrate existing applications, then start from a scratch, then separate company and buy an existing cloud vendor. These are the approaches for cloud migration. And as we studied, cloud migration consists of 5 phases, which are evolution, then migration strategies, then prototyping, then provisioning, then testing. So every cloud service provider has followed these phases and consider the approaches which we have discussed for the cloud migration. Thank you.